A very good morning to you and welcome to the Morning Outlook Report. I'm Rachel Jones reporting live from Kalkine TV Sydney studios. Now, the Australian share market is set to rise at the open this morning in good news for the start of the week's trading. On Friday, the share market lifted higher in the afternoon session as miners, tech and travel stocks all rose. The S&P ASX 200 ended the week on a positive note, closing 0.7% or 50.3 points higher at 7,362. Over the week, it closed 0.6% or 46 points higher. All sectors closed in the black except utilities, down 0.5%. Technology was the best performer, up 1.4%, followed by materials, up 1.3%, then consumer discretionary, up 0.9%. US share markets advanced also on Friday. Shares in Goldman Sachs rose 3.8%. That was in a response to strong earnings results. Shares in Alcoa rose 15.2% after the aluminium producer announced a $500 million buyback and said it would pay a dividend. The Dow Jones index rose by 1.1% and the S&P 500 index gained 0.8%. While the Nasdaq index added 0.5%. Over the week, the Dow Jones rose 1.6%, while the S&P 500 rose 1.8%, and the Nasdaq lifted by 2.2%. And in US economic data, retail sales rose by 0.7% in September. Business inventories lifted by 0.6%, and that was as expected for August. Export prices rose by 1% in September, with import prices up by 0.4%. The New York Empire State Manufacturing Index fell from 34.3 to 19.8 in October. Moving back home in local business news from this morning, Aristocrat Leisure has proposed to acquire 100% of Playtech for $3.9 billion by way of a scheme of arrangement. Now, Playtech is a leading technology provider that develops platforms and content for the global gambling industry. It's considered by Aristocrat to be one of the world's largest online gambling software suppliers and has built a strong track record of pioneering content, software and platform technology development for the gaming industry. Now, Playtech has more than 7,000 employees across 24 countries, 170 global licenses, and is regulated in 30 jurisdictions. The bid has been unanimously recommended by shareholders by the Playtech board. Moving on, and Superloop today announced they've entered into a binding agreement to sell their Hong Kong operations and also some Singapore assets to Columbia Capital and Digital Bridge for $140 million. Digital Bridge is a leading global digital infrastructure REIT and manages a $35 billion portfolio of digital infrastructure assets on behalf of its limited partners and shareholders. Columbia Capital is a leading venture capital firm focused on companies in the digital infrastructure, enterprise IT and mobility sectors. And Superloop is a leading Asia-Pacific independent provider of connectivity services. And HUB24 is set to acquire Class. That's after entering into a scheme implementation deed with the company. Class is a self-managed super fund technology provider, and as part of the transaction, Class will receive one ordinary HUB24 share for every 11 ordinary Class shares, plus 10 cents a share. Well, now it's time for a very short break, but stay tuned with Kalkine TV. I'll be back soon.
Property by Kalkine. Looking for a dream home? Well, that may sound easy, but it isn't. And from looking for a property that is the right fit for you in terms of cost and other factors, to zeroing down on the right mortgage plan, there are various aspects to consider. And for the latest slowdown in the property market, tune in on Kalkine TV with me, Sage. I will give the latest updates on the property market as well as real estate stocks to help you make the right decision. Keep watching Property with Kalkine.
Welcome back. I'm Rachel Jones and you're watching the Morning Outlook Report live on Kalkine TV. Now, Iranian and European Union diplomats will meet later this week in Brussels, and that's to discuss how to break a deadlock with the US over how to revive the 2015 nuclear deal. And over in Europe, European share markets closed higher on Friday. The Pan-European Stock 600 index rose by 0.7%, a 2.6% gain for the week and the best weekly gain in 7 months. Banks led the gains, up 1.8%, following better than expected results from US lenders over the week. The German DAX index lifted by 0.8% and the UK FTSE index rose by 0.4%. In London trade, shares in Rio Tinto fell by 1.4% after it cut its 2021 iron ore shipments forecast. And shares in BHP fell 0.1%. US Treasury prices fell on Friday in response to a surprise lift in retail sales. US 10-year yields rose by 6 points to near 1.574%. And US 2-year yields rose by 3 points to near 90-month highs at 0.395%. Over the week, US 10-year yields fell by 4 points, while the US 2-year yields rose by 8 points. Major currencies were weaker against the US dollar in European and US trade, and the Aussie dollar now stands at 74 US cents. Global oil prices rose by around 1% on Friday. That's after the White House said it will lift travel restrictions. And last Friday, the Brent crude price lifted by 86 US cents to $84.86 a barrel. The US NYMEX crude price was 1.2% to a fresh 7-year high of $82.28 a barrel. Over last week, Brent rose by 3% and NYMEX rose by 3.7%. Meanwhile, base metal prices climbed on Friday, rising between 1.5 and 8.2%, with zinc up the most. Over the week, prices soared, with zinc up 22.3% and copper up 12.5%. Now, the gold futures fell by 1.6% to $1,768 an ounce. Spot gold was trading near $1,767 an ounce. And over last week, gold rose by 0.6%. Iron ore fell by 0.4%. But over the week, iron ore rose by 0.3%. Well, that's all for your Morning Outlook report here on Kalkine TV. Have a great day trading. Stay tuned for more market updates and economic news live throughout the day. This is Rachel signing off for now.